Hi, I'm Hannah. Welcome. This is Theology Therapist. So today I just wanted to talk a little bit about the holidays and how I think a lot of us know that they can just be really hard. And I wanted to talk about a few of the reasons why that usually happens. So the first one that comes straight away to mind is family dynamics. So during the holidays, family dynamics are happening all over the place. If your family gets along, it's still a lot of time spent together, way more time than we may be used to spending together. If your family does get along, there may still be ups and downs because you likely don't agree on everything. Or you may be close to your immediate family, but your extended family is maybe a little bit harder to get along with. And so whenever you are with your immediate family, this is totally fine. But whenever you have those big holiday gatherings with everybody around, the issues may tend to come up. Now, if your family doesn't tend to get along and you are spending the holidays with them, you may be put in some uncomfortable situations and given the opportunity to show some boundaries or to have some boundaries with the people that you are spending time with. If you and your family don't exactly get along, the holidays can be an even more stressful time and experience. Know that you can leave an uncomfortable or unsafe situation. Understand your boundaries before you go into the situation and stick to them. So that might mean that politics come up, and know whether or not you are willing to have that conversation. And if you are not, it's a good idea to plan ahead of time what you are going to say. It's a good idea to plan ahead of time if you are willing to have that conversation, like how you're going to do it, maybe the things that you imagine will come up, and how would you respond to those things. You might want to prep in some ways. If you don't want to have that conversation, I really recommend going in ahead of time knowing what it is you're going to say when it does come up. So maybe you say, oh, hey, I'm like you found somebody else over there that you're gonna go talk to. Or just say, actually, I don't really feel comfortable talking about this, or I imagine that we disagree about some of those things, and given that it's the holidays, I'd rather not get into conversation about this. So if you want to talk about something else, that's okay. Otherwise, I'm gonna go, get another helping food. The other thing is, I really recommend that you take some time for yourself. So maybe you take a walk around the block or you go grab a coffee. Remember that doing nice things for yourself doesn't have to involve money. And if you have a dog, taking the dog can be a great excuse. So taking the dog out for a walk, or even just taking yourself for a walk around the block, that can be a really great thing to do. Get fresh air. If you live in a cold place, it might really wake you up. You might have a brisk walk. But remember that if you are spending extended time with your family, whether or not you get along, it is a great idea to have in mind some things that you may like to do on your own, or some ways that you could find time to spend on your own. If that's going to be hard to do around your family, maybe that's planning to go to bed a little bit earlier and then spending that time in bed, journaling or reading or listening to a podcast or watching a TV show, like whatever it is that you'd like to do, but that could be a great time to do that. Or the opposite is true about, sort of waking up in the morning. Maybe you wake up, some families respect the closed door, other families don't, so that might be a little bit harder. But there are lots of different ways that I think you can find that time for yourself. And so you just might need to get creative with how you're going to do it and with what you would like to do. And don't be tempted to, sometimes, they can just reel you in. So don't be tempted to engage in conversations that will lead to arguments with people that you care about during a special time of year, especially if you don't want to have those conversations. I know that there have been times when it was very clear that, I did not agree with the people in the room. And it was like somebody would say, like they would just say something, but like throw it out into the middle of the room. And it was like then waiting to see who was gonna pick that up and, like what kind of argument, if you will, was going to ensue. Don't be tempted to grab onto that. It's hard. It is hard. But if you don't want to have that conversation, especially, maybe like get up and go to a different room. Maybe you go to your room for wherever you're staying for a second. Maybe you go get a refill on coffee or whatever it is. Or you take that walk around the block. But there are moments, there are a lot of times moments during these like big holiday gatherings when somebody can, like they tend to throw something out there. And it's almost like a ticking bomb waiting for somebody to pick that up, and don't be tempted. So there's a lot to be said about family dynamics, but that I would say tends to be like the first thing that we think about whenever we think about like the holidays. The second thing that I would say is one of the reasons why holiday season can be really hard is if we've lost a loved one recently. If you've lost a loved one recently, the holidays can be extremely difficult as you are also navigating grief at the same time. And so it is a time of sort of what's expected around you is holiday cheer, right? But that is certainly not what you are feeling. It might be difficult to engage in social events because it can be hard to be around people who are happy when you are feeling really sad or really intense emotions. And so you might find that you are sort of naturally isolating, or you are deciding to opt out of a lot of those holiday gatherings. And I would just say about that to do that mindfully, to be careful of isolating yourself, but know that your experience, that your loss, that your emotions, they are real and valid, and that you don't have to put on a happy, smiling face because that's what's expected and because everybody around you is doing that. I would encourage you to find those people in your life who are supportive and who are thoughtful and caring, and don't expect or require that of you. This last one, I would say, is probably the more universal thing, is the reality that for us in the Northern Hemisphere, what happens in the wintertime is that it gets dark so early. It is dark, it is cold, it is dreary, it is maybe rainy or snowy, right? And many of us have this seasonal affective disorder, right? Which means that we feel lower, we feel down, we feel sadder, we have less motivation, we, sort of isolate from people more. We have all of these things that happen in the winter, given the season, given how the season has changed and what is going on around us. And so again, here, it can be hard to be around holiday cheer when you're really not feeling very cheery. When the sun goes down at 4 p.m. and it's dark before you even get out of work, well, it's pretty common for our healthy habits to start kind of sliding, and we may be less active. Holidays tend to be the time where a lot of stuff around eating and body comes up. So whether that's overeating, whether that's sort of type of control over food comes in, and this aspect of bodies that happens. There's a lot that comes up around the holidays about food and bodies. And so the fact that the weather is naturally much colder and much less inviting, there's a lot less sunlight, tends to mean that we are engaging in our healthy habits a lot less, which does impact our mental health and maybe how much we are feeling that seasonal affective disorder. So If you haven't already, now is a great time to find a local therapist. If you are in Massachusetts, head to the description in the bio and there is a link to schedule a consult in our practice. If you are not in Massachusetts and therapy really isn't the right time for you right now for whatever reason, make sure that you subscribe to this channel so that you can get a notification when next week's video comes out. And so that we can have this supportive community here. Thank you for being here. I am wishing you a very happy holiday season, regardless of some of these things, maybe in spite of some of these things that we've talked about today. I'm hoping that this holiday season, it is exactly what you've hoped for. Be well, and I'll see you soon.